Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. I will now continue with what we have been discussing with Rosemarie by Oliver's Hill when we sat in the car and spoken about things concerning our past. I said, they made me wait for a long time on the operating table. Dr. Dangerfield apparently had a very urgent assignment at Berwick Hospital. I had chosen the option of an operation, as you know, although they warned me about certain side effects, like dysfunction, etc. My life was more important and I had much more to do. Soon after the operation, when I woke up, they advised me to use a handheld button to release morphine when I had too much pain. For according to what they said, I was expected to experience a lot of discomfort. I told them I had no problems in that regard. Later I got up and walked to the shower room, during which I noticed the nurses anxiously running towards me, saying, "But sir, you can't have a shower today. You just came out from an operation, from the theater." But I had no problem. "We will wash you. Don't worry about the shower now." They rushed and washed me all over. But I didn't feel comfortable with it. Rosemarie said, "You are a very private person. You don't like anyone touching you, not even your hands." That is so true. I continued. Soon afterwards, I got out of bed, although they were demanding that I should lie down. When they saw me dancing with the metal pole, the drips dangling from the top of it, the sister came asking what I was doing. "But don't you feel any pain? How can you dance like this?" I said I had no feeling of pain. And immediately after, obviously, after she had spoken to them, some doctors came to see me. Nearly 10 or more of them were asking me how I felt. Jokingly, I told them that positive thinking is the magic. And that is the key. Some were students who looked at me in amazement. One asked, "Don't you feel any pain?" "No," I responded. "But it's impossible," said one. And I reiterated that I did not feel any pain. Another wanted to examine me and then, exclaiming, everything seemed to be all right. He told me, "I don't think you need this." That was a little spaghetti, meaning the drain they had attached to my tummy to empty any fluids which may be collected inside. One of the doctors told me he would ask the nurse to take it out that evening. When the nurse came around, first she explained that it would feel like spaghetti. And when pulling it out, it may hurt a little, or it may even tickle you. By the time she came back, I had removed the whole thing already and gave it to her. Was this the item you wanted? She said she was meant to take it out herself, worried in case there was any bleeding. She was concerned, but was calmed when I told her there was not. Later, a doctor came and told me that I was doing well, and he was going to speak to me very early in the morning. And while you were on your way to visit me, he told me, well, you can go home today. Really? I better give Rosemarie a call. The nurse asked me to wait a little, well, as she was going to show me how best to attach the bag I had to have for the next fortnight as part of the treatment. But I had already done so, much to her amazement. They were going to remove the staples after 2 weeks. If they had used stitches, it would heal nice and neatly. However, that was how things were then. When the nurse came back, she originally thought that some other hospital employee must have done the bag attachment. When we went to the other clinic about 2 weeks later for the staples to be removed, if you recall, the nurse was not impressed with what she saw, for the skin was not fully holding together. And after all those staples were removed, they stuck special tape all along the big cut. She told me, you can swear if you like. No, I don't like to do that. All the other men do it too. Please swear. Okay, since you insist. It is bloody awful. They all laughed. Oh, bloody shit. It's not hurting. See, you too are a man. I told her, men are not meant to swear all the time. It is a wrong assumption. Later I went there with you just to say hello to the nurses, remember? Ah, yes. The African nurse was very happy to see me. After a brief silence, listening to the waves, I continued. I also remember your sister's son when we moved to Lorraine Street. Ah, Jeff! He nearly got me killed. He had no concept, no idea. The stupid thing was, when I went back to Atherton Road to do the final cleaning and was waiting for the guys to come to do the carpets, he came, talking to them and laughingly chatting about the incident with the truck and about nearly killing me. Now, that's stupid. When I thought about it, that was the end of it. Definitely the end, said Rosemarie. He was swearing, calling you with bloody this and that. I certainly did not like it when at Lorraine Street. He chucked a couple of your things onto the ground from the truck, saying, "What do you need 2 of everything for?" And thanks to his idiocy, they were partially broken. He used to say he was going to kill his mother. He was going to shoot her and the rest of it, but he was high on drugs and drink. He had been pulled over several times for drink driving. I'm sorry, but after so many times, he should have been jailed, explained Rosemary. He should have been, I said. He was supposed to have been, said Rosemary. Because that is the best disciplinary action for people like him. Apart from this, the most unforgettable thing he did was that he changed the good car engine with a second-hand one. That was ridiculous. I warned to Bella so that she could also warn others, and told her, when you get your mother's estate, you'll have lots of friends who will try to take advantage of you. Be careful. Mickey had got a really very good engine in that car, but Jeff said before he passed the car onto me that the engine was changed. It turned out that his mates had conned him, taking out the good engine and replacing it with an old, reconditioned one. That must have been really bad. His so-called mates conned him, and he didn't realize. He had no real friends because he was no friend to anybody. Let's face it. He punched his mother as she was coming out of that toilet. He punched her hard, and she had to take an intervention order out against him. Later, Bella told her he was living in his car. Then Mickey saying, "He is my offspring, let him back." I think that the problem she had on one side of her face, Bell's palsy, was attributable to her having fallen, hitting her head as a result of that punch. It was a brain-dependent situation, and sadly, something may have snapped. Yes, it all came together, and then she suffered a stroke. And that was the end. It was terrible. Going back to Lorraine Street, it had cracks in the walls, gaps on the floor and ceiling, sloping floors, gaps between the skirting boards, and the floors, and that black mold. My God, we were forever cleaning that black mold. It was everywhere, on your ceiling and mine, absolutely everywhere. The underfloor heating died. Do you remember those silly little heaters? Oh, I remember them, the ones provided to us so generously. They would not even heat a doll's house. We needed to buy new heaters for ourselves, but when we moved out, we ended up just going around the corner from Lorraine into Stanley. It was June 2014. I was in deep thought and then said, I was so happy about moving out from there. Since then, I felt as if we had never lived in Lorraine Street. I have wiped it off altogether from my memory. Guess what? The person who purchased it has done nothing about that place. It's almost like divine justice. And it has become like a rubbish tip, with everybody dumping their unwanted furniture and other things. It looks terrible. Well, he tried to be cocky, sending tradesmen onto the site before completion. And our property manager told me to tell them to go back to him. But apparently, he was not happy that I sent them back. After the second time, she said to me to tell them to piss off, although it was not in her nature and most unusual. I said I did it politely. Then, of course, I had to go to England in October, and after my return, you showed me what had happened. The place was absolutely flattened. There was nothing happening. They had a fence around it, but now they have even removed the fence. It is just one huge rubbish tip. Last week, when we passed the old street, there was more unwanted refuse. And today, there was even more rubbish. I think it serves him right for being so cocky. I'll go a little back in time. Do you remember when we used to go to the Seafood Spiritualist Church and discovered that it was being chaired by Carol and Kevin? They were overly proud. Carol used to come to Anora Crescent with Kevin to attend the meditation group I conducted. Remember the Egyptian girl Hoda? She used to do cleaning at Endeavour Hills Shopping Center. She was having problems with her wrist, and I told her that although I did not like touching people, just this time to put her wrist in my left hand, telling her to close her eyes for a few seconds. When she opened them, the pain and discomfort was gone. She was feeling fire hot, but I said when I removed my hand, she would be perfectly fine. She kept repeating, "What have you done? I don't feel pain anymore." She was painless for a very long time after. She may have had a carpal tunnel episode with her wrist, and subsequently she joined us in Anora Crescent for our regular meditations. Occasionally she did a little belly dancing after those sessions, and Ross really loved it. Then I continued, discovering that the Seafood Church was under Carol's ministry. It was clearly evident that she wanted to be adored above everybody else in her church. That is how it came across. It was certainly not for us, as we could not entertain that attitude, and so we left, instead frequenting the Phoenix in Mornington, where we did some lecturing. I was also teaching art at Mornington U3A. After my major operation, I needed to break the mold and happily started teaching art there. They had no one teaching oils, and it was initially a self-help group. But after my input, they had many students eager to practice oil painting. However, after all the years I spent with them, I needed to have a break to do other things. Alas, the oil painting class seems to be no more now. However, I'm happy that we claimed some time for our own needs. For you and I both needed to do other things, but I believe they appreciated us. As you say, she continued, you needed to do other things and did not have time to do anything. You had no time for yourself and do the projects you wanted to do. And some projects were put on hold for several years, which was not right. I know. In fact, I was intending to create paintings for an exhibition here and overseas. That was one of my projects. Another was writing my autobiography. Apart from the book we started way back when we were in Oron Road. But it needed lots and lots of corrections and editing. The original script was very badly edited by Demon's girlfriend, Edwina, under pressure, but she had no idea about how to do it. We edited it so often, but still need to do more. I think we'll be able to do it now. And as you know, I started writing this one at the beginning of last year, hoping to publish it soon. Unawares, I was probably dreaming about that too. Feeling the need to change the subject, I continued. Where I am currently teaching art at Frankston U3A, remember about 3 years ago, Claude made an unexpected appearance there, attending the class with his girlfriend Mitsuho's help, as she had discovered my whereabouts through the internet. When he saw me after all those years of separation, he declared that he was disgusted with the idea of religion and was disfellowshipped like me. The difference was that I was disfellowshipped without being one of them, whereas he was removed after having associated with them since his childhood under awful circumstances, thanks to his mother. Once he was a Jehovah's Witness minister and was married to a Japanese girl named Akiko. He needed to discover who I really was. After all, he grew up believing the many lies told by one of his sisters were creating about me. In fact, I was only known to them as the great liar with everything I was. At least one of my daughters told, many dreamt of lies to their mother to please her. And it still saddens me as we ponder on those bitterly remembered issues. For a short period of time he kept quiet, just gazing upon the waves. I kept quiet and gazing upon the waves crashing on the shore, drifting further into my past sufferings, when I heard Rosemarie say, "The move from Lorraine Street was a nightmare. Where we are now is smaller, and we still need to sort out a lot of things and rearrange them as we want. But we are freer and happier, and the place is much nicer." Tuesday of last week, coming back from the shops, we found all those police cars blocking off the street. Later we found out that there had been a shooting diagonally opposite, close to where we had been living in Lorraine Street. And the other night, as you said, the police were back there again. They were checking something important, for sure. once upon a time, according to information, the place was populated by criminal bikie gangs and probably drugs were involved. Police made mention of similar problems about this issue, and I'm really glad we are no longer there. I have wiped off all the miserable memories, including those episodes with your relative Jeff. I furthered, while we lived in Stanley Street, the police came around when you were not there, asking for a certain person. I said they didn't live here and that they must have been past tenants, that we had been here since so and so. And they gave them the agent's contact details so they could check. That is the best policy, I thoughtfully remarked. This is Oliver's Hill on Sunday, 8th of March 2015. And after that grey and cloudy sky, it has become so beautiful. It is no longer like a black and white photograph. Look at those deep blues and almost greens of the sea now. We're coming here so often just to sit and talk. This place is like a magnet for me and virtually rejuvenates me. Just hearkening to the sound of waves crashing against the shore is so refreshing. It is where one can simply leave the past in the past and look forward to more favorable times. I love the sea. Do you want a cup of coffee somewhere? Yes, I'd love to have one. And thank you for our little interview with ourselves. Thank you, Rosemarie. Jokingly looking at the small recorder, I said, and thank you also. Every day of our lives, we create new memories. Some of them are fondly remembered, while others need to be put aside. Years later, I needed to leave some of the hurtful ones behind, not wanting to be burdened by them any longer, for I always prefer to travel light on the pathway of life. During late 2014 and early 2015, I celebrated the new year with my daughter and her offspring in Perth, as well as with my son, who had initially invited me to travel with him. But I followed him a week later. Enjoying new technologies, I continually corresponded with my friend Rosemarie, who shared the dwelling in Frankston, where we were housed. This way, I have been able to keep an accurate record of the events which took place during this mini holiday. Instead of writing in a journal or making a sound recording, as once upon a time I can now look at my correspondence notes on my mobile phone to tell you all about my unique adventures. I began with the following in a text message. Best wishes for Christmas and very happy New Year. I'll tell you more about it next time, by the next episode. Until then, keep well, keep smiling, and be happy.